Most people believe that to be attractive, you must be loud, you must be present, you must constantly broadcast your achievements, your opinions, and your availability to the world. We are taught that if we want attention, we have to chase it, like a moth obsessed with a flickering light. But look around. Observe the people who truly command a room, the ones who draw others toward them without lifting a finger. You will notice a recurring theme. They are rarely the ones shouting the loudest. There is a specific kind of magnetism that only comes from silence and self-control. It is a presence so grounded, so unshakable, that it feels dangerous to the average person. This isn't about being mysterious for the sake of drama. It is about the profound attraction of a person who no longer needs external validation to feel complete. When you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop reacting to every emotional impulse, you become the most stable force in the room. This is the Stoic secret to becoming dangerously attractive. A state where your mere presence dictates the atmosphere, not because you demanded it, but because you possess a level of internal sovereignty that most people can only dream of. If you have spent your life feeling overlooked because you didn't know how to perform for others, it is time to stop. Today, we dismantle the desperation of the modern world and unlock the silent habits that shift the power dynamic in your favor forever. We live in an era of epidemic desperation. Look at the average person's behavior. They are constantly leaking energy, broadcasting their every mood, seeking feedback on every decision, and needing an audience to confirm their existence. This is the hidden problem that kills your attraction before it even has a chance to blossom. You believe that by sharing more, you become more visible, but in reality, you become common. You become a commodity that is easily traded, easily replaced, and easily ignored. The Stoic masters understood something that the modern world has forgotten. When you give others the power to define your worth through their approval, you strip yourself of the very thing that makes you attractive, your sovereignty. Think about your own life. How often do you pause before posting something just to see how many likes it gets? How often do you tell a story to someone hoping they will praise your choice? This constant leaking of your internal state to the external world is a signal of weakness. It tells the world and everyone in it that you are not the captain of your own ship. You are waiting for instructions from the passengers. True attraction is built on the foundation of self-sufficiency. When you are truly comfortable in your own skin, you stop vibrating at the frequency of need. People are biologically and psychologically wired to be drawn toward those who are steady, those who are not swayed by the wind of public opinion. When you are hungry for approval, you become frantic, and frantic energy is the opposite of magnetic energy. It pushes people away because it feels like a burden, like you are asking them to do the emotional labor of validating you. The first step to becoming dangerously attractive is realizing that you have been doing it backwards. You have been looking outward to fill a void that can only be closed from within. The moment you stop seeking, you become a pillar of stability. You stop asking, "Do you like me?" and start living from a place of "I know who I am." This is the shift that changes everything. People won't just notice you. They will be pulled toward your quiet confidence, even if they don't immediately understand why. You are no longer a reflection of the crowd. You are the source of your own gravity. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. Plus 5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple. Will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today. Now that we have identified the trap of seeking approval, we must confront a second, equally destructive error: the obsession with being constantly available. In our hyper-connected world, we have developed a digital anxiety. We feel that if we don't reply to that text within seconds, if we don't show up to every social invitation, or if we aren't on at all times, we are losing our relevance. This is a lie. The truth is that value is scarcity. When you are everywhere, you are nowhere. When you are available to everyone, you are valuable to no one. Consider the nature of luxury goods. Why are they expensive? Because they are rare. Why are they desired? Because they are hard to obtain. By being constantly available, you are effectively devaluing your own presence. You are telling the world that your time, your focus, and your energy are cheap, that anyone can access them at any moment for any reason. This is not kindness. It is a lack of boundaries that erodes your self-respect and, consequently, how others perceive you. The Stoic approach is one of rigorous conservation of self. You are not a public utility. You are a sovereign individual with a limited amount of time and vitality. When you begin to reclaim your time, you are not being rude, you are being selective. You are setting a standard. When you are finally present, you are fully present, because you have spent the rest of your time cultivating yourself rather than scattering your attention. People notice this. They notice that you don't jump when the phone rings. They notice that you don't engage in trivial conversations just to fill the silence. This creates a dynamic of intrigue. When you are not always on, you become a mystery. You are a person who has a life, a purpose, and a direction that exists independently of the people trying to pull you into their orbit. This is dangerously attractive because it is rare. In a world of frantic people-pleasing shells, you become a solid object. You become someone whose time is earned, not given away freely. I want you to look at your calendar, your messages, and your social interactions this week. Where are you overextending yourself? Where are you giving away your energy to people or situations that do not align with your purpose? I want you to start pulling back, not to be mean, but to be intentional. Reclaim your focus. Reclaim your silence. If you are ready to stop being the one who is always on call for the world, leave a comment below. I own my time. And while you are down there, hit that like button to help this message reach more people who need to hear it. If you have mastered the art of not being constantly available, you have reclaimed your time. But how do you handle the moments when you are present? Most people operate on a hair trigger. When someone insults them, they snap back. When someone asks a question, they rush to provide an answer. When a problem arises, they panic. This state of constant reflexive reaction is the antithesis of attraction. It signals to everyone around you that you are a puppet, and your emotions are the strings that they can pull at will. The Stoic habit of the strategic pause is the ultimate defensive and offensive weapon. It is not hesitation, it is a calculated delay. When you are confronted with a stimulus, be it a snide comment, a stressful email, or an unexpected crisis, your immediate urge is to react. Your biology wants to fight or flee. But the dangerously attractive person understands that between the stimulus and the response, there is a space. And in that space lies your freedom. When you practice the strategic pause, you are physically training your nervous system to remain regulated while others are losing their minds. Imagine you are in a high-pressure meeting. Someone throws a challenge at you, perhaps intending to make you look foolish. The average person would start talking immediately, defending, sweating, and trying to prove their worth. You, however, do the opposite. You stay silent. You hold eye contact, you breathe, you wait 3, 4, maybe 5 seconds. In that silence, you regain your power. You aren't just not reacting, you are observing the emotional incompetence of the other person. By not rushing to fill the void with words, you force the other person to sit in the tension they created. Often, they will begin to stammer, clarify, or even apologize, because they cannot handle the weight of the silence you have projected. You have effectively shifted the power dynamic without saying a single word. You become the anchor in the room. People are naturally drawn to the person who remains calm when everything else is chaotic, because that calm is a promise of safety and strength. This is not a social performance. It is a fundamental shift in your relationship with reality. You are no longer a victim of circumstances. You are a conscious observer who chooses how to interface with them. If you want to cultivate this, start small. Next time someone asks you a question that doesn't require an immediate life or death answer, pause. Count to 3. Let the silence hang for a moment. You will find that your eventual response is more articulate, more confident, and significantly more powerful. Are you ready to stop being the one who reacts and start being the one who leads? If this concept of the strategic pause clicked with you, let me know in the comments. I master the silence. And if you're finding value in these lessons, make sure to like this video so we can continue spreading this message to those who need to wake up. To truly understand why the silent approach is so powerful, we must look at a fundamental mechanism of human psychology, the law of non-attachment. In almost every area of life, the moment you become desperate for an outcome, you repel it. Think of it like trying to hold a handful of sand. If you squeeze it tightly, the grains slip through your fingers and scatter. If you hold your hand open and relaxed, the sand remains exactly where it is. Most people approach their goals, their relationships, and their self-worth with a death grip. They attach their happiness to the outcome, and in doing so, they create a state of internal panic. When you are attached to an outcome, whether it's the need for a specific person's approval or the desperate desire for a business result, you are operating from a place of lack. Psychologically, this is known as a scarcity mindset. You are signaling to yourself and to the world that you are incomplete without that thing. And here is the paradox. Human beings are biologically wired to gravitate toward those who appear complete. We find people who are needy to be exhausting, while we find people who are composed to be magnetic. The Stoics mastered the art of amor fati, not just accepting fate, but loving it, regardless of the outcome. This is the ultimate psychological hack. When you strip away your desperate attachment to a specific result, you remove the frenetic energy that pushes people away. You become dangerous because you are unpredictable. You are a person who can handle the win with grace and handle the loss with dignity. You don't get crushed by failure, and you don't get intoxicated by success. Consider the power of presence. When you are not attached to what someone else thinks of you, you are finally free to be 100% yourself in their company. You aren't editing your personality to fit their expectations. You aren't holding back your true thoughts for fear of judgment. You are simply there, grounded and honest. This is incredibly rare in a world where everyone is walking on eggshells, performing a version of themselves they think others will like. That authenticity is the most attractive trait a person can possess. It signals that you have nothing to hide and nothing to lose. When you practice non-attachment, you stop viewing life as a game you have to win to be valuable. You start viewing it as a series of events to be navigated with character. The person who is not attached to the outcome is the person who is most capable of achieving it, because they aren't distracted by the fear of losing it. They aren't looking at the audience. They are looking at the work. Are you holding on too tightly to a dream, a person, or an outcome? That grip is what is keeping it from you. Release the pressure. Focus on the process, not the prize. If you understand that your value is independent of your results, comment, "I am enough," below. That single realization is the psychological key that unlocks everything else. Keep that energy, because in the next chapter we are going to look at a historical example of a man who held the world in his hands, yet remained completely detached. To understand the true weight of silence and restraint, we look to the man who held the absolute power of the Roman Empire in his hands, yet chose to be a servant to his own mind, Marcus Aurelius. Imagine for a moment the sheer pressure he faced. He was the most powerful man in the known world, constantly besieged by wars at the borders, plagues decimating his population, and political treachery from those closest to him. By all modern standards, he had every reason to be loud, reactionary, and anxious. He had every reason to broadcast his struggles, to demand attention, and to rule through force and noise. Yet if you read his personal diary, the Meditations, you find a man who did exactly the opposite. He was the ultimate practitioner of the silent habit. During the darkest periods of his reign, when his advisors were scrambling, panicking, and seeking his constant validation, Marcus would retreat. He did not seek to be the loudest voice in the room. He sought to be the quietest. He understood that in the midst of chaos, the person who speaks the least is the person who sees the most. There is a powerful account of a high-stakes meeting where his generals were bickering over a failed campaign. The room was filled with ego, blame, and noise. Everyone was desperate to prove they weren't the ones at fault. Marcus listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't raise his voice to silence them. And he didn't offer a quick, ego-driven solution. He sat in total stillness. By refusing to join the noise, he forced his generals to face their own incompetence. When he finally spoke, his words were few, measured, and absolute. Because he hadn't wasted his energy on the petty bickering of others, his single directive carried the authority of a mountain. This is the dangerously attractive power of a leader who does not need to perform. When you are silent, you become a mirror. People cannot project their own insecurities onto you because you don't give them anything to work with. They are forced to look at themselves. In your silence, they find their own truth. This is what Marcus discovered. The more he withdrew from the clamor of external validation, the more his internal clarity expanded. He stopped viewing his life as a series of crises to be managed and started viewing it as a practice of character. We often think that being important means being busy, being talked about, and being constantly involved in the drama. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that the highest form of power is the ability to withdraw, to exist within yourself so fully that the world's chaos cannot penetrate your walls. He didn't rule because he loved the sound of his own voice. He ruled because he had mastered the silence within. What can you learn from this Roman emperor? You do not need to be in charge of an empire to face empire-sized problems. Your life, your relationships, and your ambitions are your kingdom. If you are constantly leaking your power by trying to manage the opinions and perceptions of others, you are failing to rule your own life. Stop trying to broadcast your struggle. Stop trying to prove your worth to those who cannot even rule themselves. Emulate the silence of the emperor. Observe more, react less, and let your actions, not your words, be the evidence of your sovereignty. Are you still trying to convince the world of your value, or are you ready to act with the quiet confidence of a leader? If the story of Marcus Aurelius moves you to reclaim your internal space, type "I am the ruler of my mind" in the comments. Your engagement helps us reach those who are ready to wake up. We have discussed the philosophy, the history, and the psychology. Now, it is time to move into the laboratory of your own life. Knowing why you should be silent is one thing. Knowing how to execute it in the middle of a chaotic Tuesday is another. Most people fail here because they lack a tactical protocol. They try to be silent as a vague concept, and they crumble the moment a crisis hits. You need a system. The first part of your daily protocol is the morning input vacuum. The modern world is a marketplace of opinions, demands, and noise. If you check your phone immediately upon waking, you are inviting the chaos of 1,000 strangers into your sanctuary before you have even found your own feet. For the next 30 days, I challenge you to a zero-input morning. No emails, no news, no social media for the first hour of your day. This isn't just about avoiding distractions. It is about establishing a baseline of internal peace. In this silence, you are not reacting to the world. You are orienting yourself. Ask yourself, what is the one thing I must accomplish today to move closer to my vision? Then, move toward that, and only that. The second part is the reaction audit. Throughout your day, track your impulses. Whenever you feel that sudden, sharp urge to snap at a coworker, to post a clever retort on social media, or to justify yourself to someone who doesn't care, stop. Label it. Say to yourself, this is an impulse for external validation. Do not act on it. Just observe the biological pressure as if it were a physical sensation, like heat or cold. You will notice that the urge has a half-life. It spikes and then it fades. If you wait, you reclaim your agency. You turn a mindless reflex into a conscious decision. The third part is the economy of words. Most of us have a verbal surplus. We talk far more than is necessary, diluting our own presence. Start practicing the art of the intentional response. Before you answer a question, force yourself to count to 3. This accomplishes 2 things. It gives you time to formulate a better answer, and it signals to the listener that your words are not cheap. They are a deliberate output of your mind, not a knee-jerk reaction. You will be shocked by how much respect this simple habit commands. People are not used to dealing with someone who is so clearly the master of their own tongue. These are not just tips, they are the exercises of a spiritual athlete. Stoicism is not a book you read, it is a weight you lift. If you want to become dangerously attractive, you must treat your own character as the most important project you will ever work on. Do not aim for perfection, aim for progress. The goal is not to never feel the urge to react, but to notice that urge and choose not to follow it. Does this feel difficult? Good. That difficulty is the feeling of your old self dying and your new sovereign self emerging. If you are serious about implementing this reaction audit today, comment, "I am in control," below. This is your commitment to the process. And if you are finding these practical steps useful, make sure to like this video. It helps ensure that others who are drowning in the noise find the path to clarity. We have traveled through the philosophy, the history, and the tactical discipline required to reclaim your power. You have seen how the hunger for approval acts as a poison, how constant availability devalues your essence, and how the strategic pause can shift the entire geometry of a conversation. You have understood the psychology of detachment and looked into the eyes of Marcus Aurelius to see that true power is not found in the roar of the crowd, but in the silence of the sovereign mind. Now we reach the final stage, the integration of these lessons into a new permanent identity. The dangerously attractive version of yourself is not a mask you put on for social situations. It is not a performance. It is the natural outcome of someone who has stopped lying to themselves. Most people live in a state of fragmented identity, one person at work, another with their partner, another on social media. They are constantly adjusting their frequency to be liked, to be accepted, or to avoid conflict. This fragmentation is the ultimate barrier to magnetism. People are not drawn to people-pleasers, they are drawn to whole beings. When you fully embrace the Stoic path of silence and internal sovereignty, you stop being a fragmented reflection of other people's expectations. You become a monolith. You become someone whose thoughts, words, and actions are perfectly aligned. This is what it means to awaken. It is the realization that you have never needed anything from the world to be complete. Your attractiveness is not something you acquire. It is something you uncover once you strip away the layers of desperation, reactivity, and performance. You are no longer looking for a win in every interaction. You are no longer measuring your worth by the number of likes, the speed of replies, or the validation of your peers. You are living for the only metric that matters, the integrity of your own soul. This shift is dangerous because it makes you unmanipulable. When you cannot be bought with praise and you cannot be broken by criticism, you become a force of nature. People will sense that you are operating on a different wavelength, one that isn't dependent on their permission to exist. This is the ultimate secret of the silent habit. It is not about closing yourself off from the world. It is about engaging with the world from a place of absolute inner fullness. When you are full, you do not reach for others to complete you. You interact with them to share your strength, your clarity, and your purpose. This is the essence of true attraction. It is a gravitational pull that is honest, calm, and unshakable. As you step away from this video, do not just return to your old patterns. The moment you start reacting again, you invite the chaos back in. The moment you start chasing, you lose your throne. Keep your silence. Guard your energy. Be the person who listens more than they speak, who observes more than they judge, and who acts with a precision that comes from deep, internal focus. You have the blueprint. You have the tools. You have the history. Now, you must have the courage to live it. Most people spend their lives reacting. Few learn the power of remaining calm, silent, and in control. If something in today's message resonated deeply with you, it's because a stronger version of yourself is trying to emerge. Thousands have already discovered the principles inside the silent power, and many say they wish they had learned them years earlier. +5 exclusive bonuses. The silent power reveals timeless Stoic lessons for mastering emotions, building unshakable confidence, commanding respect without speaking, and developing the mental strength that cannot be broken by criticism, rejection, or adversity. The question is simple: will you continue reacting to life, or start mastering it? Get instant access through the first pinned comment and begin your journey toward true self-mastery today.